So, I like telling this story that I heard. Somebody told me when I was in Jamaica in Negril. Told me the story of how ganja, the marijuana, got to Jamaica because ganja is not native to the island of Jamaica, right? It comes from India, and in India, it was used for religious purposes to connect, the sages, to connect the rishis, to connect with God and get all this information, knowledge, and so it was used religiously. But now, the British, slave owners, you want to call them, that enslaved India, what they did was they used ganja, and they gave it to the Indian slaves because it helped them work better, right? So you give them what connects them to God, and the slavery that they're forced into becomes a little easier, right? So it worked for the Indian slaves. So they had a great idea. So in the island of Jamaica, where they were bringing African slaves over, right, to work the sugar plantation, so they can make all that rum, that delicious rum. Sugar, important thing back then. So the British had a remarkably astounding idea. And since the Indian slaves seems to be doing so well with the ganja, maybe it's a good idea if you bring it over to Jamaica, right, and give it to the black slaves and see if they'll work even better. Because sir, we're having some revolting happening here and there. So maybe if we brought it in and gave it to the African slaves, they'd work just as hard as the Indian slaves. Tell you, great idea. Let's try it, mate. So they brought the sacred Indian plant, sacred, to Jamaica. And they gave it to the black slaves. And something funny happened. Since it wasn't part of their religion, right? In India, it was part of the religion. Africa, they had other ibogaine and other things that they used to connect themselves with God. So this plan to them was just, hey, let's try it, and guess what? What happens when all those people out there that smoke marijuana? What happens when you smoke it? All of a sudden, you listen. The music sounds better. The food tastes better. You see things. The tree looks better. Everything looks better and brighter. So the African slaves, after smoking it, they went, "Oh my God! Wait a second. I'm not a slave, right? I'm a warrior that has been enslaved." So it gave them the understanding that they're human beings, and these maybe 200, 300 soldiers with guns, telling them that they're slaves. Maybe if they just turned around and said, "Fuck you," and went and ran up to the mountains and the hills of Jamaica, where these guys in the nice suits and the sharp guns with the pointy things at the end and the nice hats and everything, they're not gonna make it up, to the mountains. They're not gonna get. "Hey, tell you, sir, we can't make it. Do we have any slaves to bring up there? No, they're all revolted, right?" So there they go, right? To the hills of Jamaica, and this is what. Man, again, this story might be, very missing a lot of the things that really happened. But this is what the guy told me, and it was a very empowering story, because he said that they went to the mountains and they grew their dreads and they became the Rastafarian order, where they in a sense where they freed themselves from the white man's oppression, the slave owners' oppression, the British slave owners' oppression of them, and instead of fighting them, because you fight them, they shoot you, and you just turn around and walk away and go to the hills and say, "Hey, see you guys. Let us know no, Chalio, come back down. We'll give you more slave rations. Come back down. So they're like, fuck you. And eventually, they just had to leave. And of course, there's more to it. There's bloodshed. And there was a lot of bloodshed and violence because of the freedom that Jamaica had to endure. And most of those Caribbean islands, they were, Chalio, the British, and then let's bring the black slaves in to be our servants. So what I'm saying is that to the Rastafarian, or I'm sure to almost every Jamaican that understands the story, right? Ganja is the gift from God. Marijuana is the gift from God. It is the thing that made them understand they were not slaves, but they were people enslaved. And that's a big difference. If you believe you're a slave, then you are a slave. But if you believe you're a people enslaved, then you have a hope to get unenslaved. And how do you do that? By running away to the hills, right? Where they can't go because you're African and they're tallying everywhere with their suits, and they're not going to do it. So they were smart to realize that let's not fight these guys because they'll shoot us. But if we run away and just grow our dreads and we'll live the way we used to in Africa, and we'll make this Africa here. As long as you go away. Go away, man. We don't need you here no more. Go. Take your white crap and take your slavery and go shove it up your fucking ass, man. Leave. Leave this island. Leave this place. Leave. And of course, they didn't leave because they still have Jamaicans there that are more British, and they're very like, no, we don't smoke ganja. I've been to Jamaica 5 times. So we don't do any of that. And they're still tally-hoing with the British, the evilness that still exists in that island. Well, the dread says, fuck you, man, get out of my island. And the Rastafarians like, yeah, man, just smoke the ganja and peace. And that's what you have. You have the gift of God given to these people. And now what are they doing on it? They got dispensaries all over the place making a profit on it. Just like everything else they make a profit on, eventually it'll get corrupted, right? But to what point will a gift from God ever be corrupted by anything? Because eventually, you understand. And eventually, you realize. And eventually, that gift becomes something that you fight for and you believe in and say to yourself, no. They're not going to, once again, make illegal something that grows from the ground and helps us as human beings, so they can feed us their medication and their pills that are created in laboratories that have nothing, no connection to anything that's grown from this planet and that wants to help us. Because everything that I've ever taken that's grown out of this planet has to try to help me. Everything that I've ever taken that it was man-made and given to me and forced upon me, that did the opposite. So that is the story of how the gift from God got to Jamaica. It was not, and it's it's probably chopped up. Maybe it is not, what it fully is, but the meaning is there, and it means a lot. If you really listen to the story, and understand that this is what they're doing to you. They're cutting you off. They're taking the things that used to be your rituals and your connection to God. They're making them illegal, imprisoning you, or mandating that you go to a mental institution and be forced into their drugs that help you not want the plant stuff anymore. Because the plant stuff is bad. You don't know where that's coming from. You don't know if it's poison or what. Think about who's telling you these lies, and then think about how they're enslaving us still to this day by what they do. The gift from God. Jah bless. Yeah, man. Jah bless.